In this video, I want to talk about something that I think is really important. Um, this is kind of talking with anybody, but I would say especially talking with women. And that's that when you're talking or even telling a woman anything, you have to be careful and mindful of the implication that she's gonna draw from what you're saying. Because what you're saying is creating a story in her head. Um, so for example, like let's say that you have two options of something you could say. You could tell a woman that um dang it, yesterday, or you could say, yesterday I didn't get my homework done, right? And then you just leave it as that. And then off that she might build a story like um that you're irresponsible. Or even, let's say you say that you didn't get your homework done 3 days in a row. She might think that you're irresponsible, um, that you're just not disciplined, that you're not passionate about your schooling, that you don't care about your future. If you just leave it like that. But if you say, oh my gosh, I had a family emergency and I had to go take care of a family member, and then I had to go to work after, and then I really had to fix my um, you know, car or something like that. So I couldn't get to my homework, but I'm gonna do double the homework today. Now you've put it in a different light. Now it's no longer that you were um kind of not disciplined. Now she understands, okay, you had a lot of other things going on, and it kind of makes you look like a hero in other areas. You were taking care of your family members, blah blah blah, and that's why you didn't get to your homework. And this is important, because you can't expect everybody to see you in a positive light every time you speak. Sometimes people just draw negative implications from what you're saying, and it's not necessarily fair, but people shortcut. I think especially people these days don't have a lot of patience, and so you just have to be mindful of you know what are the implications that are being drawn by what you're saying. um and sometimes it's like it's not even a bad thing, like what you're saying. Like you could be really positive, and but still, like, you got to understand that various things are associated, certain ideas are associated with other ideas. Like another example would be saying that you live with your mom. You could say to a woman, I live with my mom. But and for you, there might be so many positive reasons. You're saving money, you're want to spend more time with your family because you believe in family first. You're helping doing chores, you're helping paying bills there. But when you just say that you live with your mom, it can be seen, there's all these associated images with that. Oh, someone who doesn't work, someone who's freeloading off their mom, baby mama's boy, which for me I don't even have a problem with. In other countries, men are mama's boys. I think it's stupid how that many people in the West like judge uh men for like being taken care of by their mom. It's like, why does that matter? Like, it gives our mom something to do to feel valuable. But anyways, um it can have all those negative associations, so you have to make sure that whenever you're speaking, you're giving the right implication and the right imagery in the woman's mind or person's mind, so that they can understand what it is you're actually doing. So you can explain that you love your family and you want to spend more time with them, and that you don't think that people spend enough time with their family in this life, and you're helping paying bills, and you're planning on moving out, and you're saving up, that type of thing. um Another thing that I try to keep in mind too, there's actually two things that I thought of, but it's that if there's gonna not be enough time to explain something to someone, then maybe I don't start if it's gonna give a negative implication, without me having the ability to explain myself. Like if the conversation only has like one more minute and it would take a few minutes to explain what I'm doing, so that there isn't that negative implication. Like if the person has to go or something like that, then I just don't start that conversation. And the other thing too is like, yeah, you want to be risky to an extent of like what you're willing to say, but obviously don't get yourself too deep, like saying something, opening up a can of worms, like saying something that you don't even know how to defend yourself yet. Like, unless you're like a public relations specialist, like it's unlikely that how. Sometimes you just don't know how to properly frame what you're about to say, and in that sense you have to be aware. Like um like it's even little things, like not even necessarily little things, but like for example, let's say that you got in trouble at work, or you got in on corrective action at work or whatever. Like you don't necessarily want to bring that up around a woman unless you know how to frame it like properly, unless you can actually explain, that the boss is crazy, and like unless you can really properly frame those things, like you don't necessarily want to bring those up. And it's the same even talking about like mental health disorders and stuff like that. Like if you're going to talk about serious stuff like that around a woman, like you have to know how to frame it. I mean, that's the sad part, is like I feel like sometimes we have to, if you want to be vulnerable with somebody, you first have to know how to explain it so that they see you in a positive light at the end of the conversation, which is a second burden that we have before we are vulnerable. But yeah. And like that's one, like, big one, because if you talk to somebody and tell them that you have a certain mental illness or something, probably one of the first things they're gonna do is go home and Google it. And if you don't agree with those symptoms that are on Google, like you think that those are inaccurate and it doesn't portray your illness or whatever properly, then now you now just created a problem, because that woman or person just went home and started reading up on your illness, and now they don't have a proper idea of who you are. So I don't know, you just got to be careful about the implications and the stories that you're drawing or creating in people's minds, because with women, if you can create a good story in their mind of who you are, and it helps them be attracted and respect you, because I think women are more about the story. They're more about the idea of you. We're more physical, like she's pretty, and then you throw kindness on top of it, and we're pretty much good. We're pretty much good there. But women is so much deeper than that. It's a whole story that they have about you. It's all these various ideas of being a provider, being able to control your emotions, being sensitive enough but not too sensitive. It's way more complicated for us, and it's not, I feel like, not necessarily something that I know how to teach, but you got to be like mindful of it. All right, have a good one, y'all. Peace.